a CTV News special presentation. Tonight,
You must be in disbelief every time you walk in here.
a CTV News exclusive.
We are now seeing a person of color who occupies one of the 9 seats.
Justice Jamal, I would invite you to take your place on the bench. Congratulations.
Are you surprised it took this long?
Every one of the 9 judges on the Supreme Court of Canada brings their own perspective to the role, and nobody's perspective is better than anybody else's.
There is a certain clash between individual freedoms and collective ones.
It's unsafe. Robbed over so people can have freedom.
Do you see the divide as dangerous?
We have to maintain a balance between freedom of expression and protection of people's rights.
Today, the Supreme Court said someone so extremely intoxicated can claim they cannot form criminal intent.
How conscious are you, and how conscious is the court of public sentiment?
A conversation with Supreme Court Justice Mahmud Jamal. Reporting tonight, here is Omar Sachedina.
Good evening, and welcome to the Supreme Court of Canada. Just west of Parliament Hill, this historic building is located on a bluff overlooking the Ottawa River. It's a court of last resort in this country, and tonight we have a first.
Within these hallowed halls is the culmination of a remarkable journey for the newest of the 9 justices and for the court itself, founded in 1875. The evolution is etched on the faces of those entrusted with a profound duty, the final arbiters of the law of the land, and closer now to reflecting the diversity of Canada with one historic appointment, the Honourable Mahmoud Jamal.
It is quite remarkable that nearly 150 years after this court was established, we are now seeing a person of color who occupies one of the 9 seats behind you. If the law is about interpreting the facts, why does race even matter?
Well, I think it's important for the population to see that public institutions are open to them, that they can aspire to positions of high public office, whether that's in government or in the judiciaries. I think perspectives also matter. The first woman was appointed to the Supreme Court of Canada in 1982, and I don't think anybody would doubt that women bring a different perspective to judging, particularly on issues such as family law, sexual assault, and so on. So people's experiences inform their perspectives, and I think the experiences of being an immigrant certainly informs the way you approach the law and how you look at legal questions. So I think part of it is the institutional legitimacy of the court, part of it is inspiring young people, and part of it is the quality of decision making.
Are you surprised it took this long?
I mean, the first Jewish judge was appointed to the Supreme Court, Paul Alaskan, in 1970, the first woman in 1982, Bertha Wilson, the first Jewish female judge, Justice Abella, in 2004. So these things take time. Was I surprised? I think there have been a number of different milestones along the way, and I think now we're seeing in courts across Canada more and more minorities being appointed to the bench.
But anytime you're the first of anything, it carries a certain amount of burden as well. Have you felt that pressure? Are you feeling that pressure?
When I was appointed, it was certainly brought home to me in the young people and lawyers that contacted me and told me what the appointment meant to them. I think every judge has a responsibility in the office, but certainly I felt a responsibility to the people who are looking up to me, who don't know me, but are looking up to me in terms of the role in the office and what it means for them. So certainly that is a different aspect that I do feel a little bit.
Has there been any negative reaction?
I focus on the positive.
The cases that come before you and this court are a glimpse into the soul of this country. And we seem to be at a juncture that there is a certain clash between individual freedoms and collective ones. And we saw that manifest itself just a few months ago in this city. Do you see the divide as dangerous?
I think it's intrinsic in any society that there are going to be situations where individual and collective interests come into tension. That is the nature of living in a community, in a society. I don't think it's getting better or worse necessarily. I think it's just the nature of human beings with differences trying to live together in a community in a tolerant, respectful way.
It seems, though, that in some ways it's getting sharper and more pointed.
Everybody's a publisher at this point with social media, and so I think there are more outlets for people to express themselves. There are more outlets for people to receive that information. I think that does have an amplifying effect on communication, and that's just the nature of the evolution of society and technology.
Does it concern you?
Obviously, online hate concerns me. Forms of online abuse concern me. Cyberbullying concerns me. Those sorts of things concern, I think, every informed citizen. But we have to maintain a balance between freedom of expression and protection of people's rights and their interests.
You talked a little bit about how representation and diversity matters. And it's quite possible that Quebec's Bill 21, the ban on religious symbols, could land here. Do you think that somebody with your background has a better perspective to hear a case such as that than your colleagues?
I think every one of the 9 judges on the Supreme Court of Canada brings their own perspective to the role, and 9 people from different regions of the country, different linguistic backgrounds, genders, bring different experiences and perspectives. Nobody's experience or perspective is better than anybody else's.
In your questionnaire as part of the appointment process, you were asked a very specific question: who is the audience for Supreme Court of Canada decisions? And as part of your answer, you wrote the Canadian public. Certain cases spark stronger reactions than others, such as the recent decision to allow extreme intoxication as a defense for violent crime.
Thomas Chan had been drinking with friends and taking the hallucinogenic drug magic mushrooms when the 19-year-old broke into his father's home, calling it the House of Satan and stabbing him to death with a kitchen knife. Chan was convicted of manslaughter, but today the Supreme Court said someone so extremely intoxicated can claim they cannot form criminal intent and cannot be held responsible.
When you're thinking of a decision, how conscious are you, and how conscious is the court, of public sentiment before the decision is released?
I think particularly Chief Justice Wagner has been very concerned about communicating decisions clearly and intelligibly. He's to be commended for that. Do we decide on the basis of public sentiment? No. We decide on the basis of the law. Do we think about the reaction to a decision? Of course we do. But it isn't something that drives the decision. At the end of the day, we decide according to our best view of what the law is and what the evidence shows, but we're not deciding cases on the basis of public opinion.
Do you think the justices should be at least given the opportunity to defend their decisions if there is strong public reaction?
The traditional role of a judge is to speak through their decisions. It's not to engage in debate outside the realm of the decision. We try to be faithful to our oaths, to decide as best we can.
In the U.S., we are seeing a massive backlash as a result of a leaked draft decision that will reverse a woman's right to choose.
On the steps of the Supreme Court, a new generation of women are still fighting the abortion wars half a century later.
It's the latest flashpoint in America. Monday's leaked draft opinion shows the conservative majority appears set to overturn Roe v. Wade.
So today's protests are aimed especially at the court's conservative majority.
The impact on abortion rights is one issue. The fact that there was a leak in the first place is another issue. Your thoughts on both?
I can't really comment on what happened in the United States, but we certainly have very robust protocols on confidentiality to ensure deliberative secrecy so that we can have that open exchange, because it is in that robust discussion that the ideas get clarified and refined. The reaction is obviously in some measure reflects the division that exists. I think our legal and political culture is much less divided than it is in the US, and I think it makes for a more harmonious exchange of ideas and than it would if it was much more acerbic.
still ahead.
Everybody has their spot, and we discuss the cases and hear and vote.
And is there any attempt to sort of twist the other justices' arms to bring them on side to your position?
When a conversation with Supreme Court Justice Mahmud Jamal returns. A conversation with Supreme Court Justice Mahmud Jamal.
It's such an awe-inspiring building, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's a very majestic place to work.
With every step in his legal career,
You'd never get used to it.
Mahmoud Jamal has broken new ground.
The history of the court, the responsibility to decide cases for the whole country, I think all those things come through your mind, and happily it never gets old.
As a lawyer, educator, and an Ontario Appeals Court judge. Born in 1967 in a country in turmoil, Kenya, to an Ismaili Muslim family ancestrally from India. He was 2 when they immigrated to England, where he attended Christian school. Life was uprooted again as a teenager when they immigrated to Canada. He graduated from this Edmonton High School. From there, the University of Toronto, McGill, and Yale. He converted to the Baha'i faith after he married an Iranian refugee. They have 2 sons.
Well, this is the conference room where we deliberate after hearing arguments.
I know you haven't used it during COVID times, but those deliberations, are they typically animated? And is there any attempt to sort of twist the other justices' arms to bring them on side to your position?
I think there's always an effort of presenting your view and how you see the case in as compelling and persuasive a way as possible, so that it perhaps opens up the eyes of the mind of the mind of the other judges. But I don't think it's an advocacy exercise.
And is it assigned by seniority, or is it is
yes,
there any
it is.
system to
It
that?
is.
Okay. So this is all quite new for you.
Yeah, it is still. You can see over here, actually. There's a table over here. This table has little spots. These do actually have spots for names for everybody.
Where's your name?
I'm over there, I think.
On the other side?
Yeah, over there.
There we go. Right there, yeah.
I'm sure there will be a lot of traditions of the court that I will be re-exposed to once the COVID protocols have lifted.
What do you think it is specifically about your background that has prepared you for the position that you're in now?
To be perfectly frank, I don't think anybody's background really prepares them for the position of being a judge at the Supreme Court. You try to bring the best experience you can, but it is such a totally different role from anything you've done in your past, and there is a giant leap from being a lawyer or being a judge on any court to then being a judge on the Supreme Court. It's a different role, a different responsibility. I was fortunate in my practice and in my role as an appellate judge, though, to deal with many, many different areas of law, which I think helps in terms of making the transition.
What was the biggest change or adjustment?
I think the intensity of the role and the intensity of the work. By definition, cases on which leave is granted are questions of public importance, so they affect the country as a whole. So the nature of the questions, the nature of the work, the nature of the deliberative, collegial decision-making with so many other people.
There was a powerful moment at the confirmation hearing of the first black U.S. Supreme Court Judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, where Senator Cory Booker said to her, "I know what it's taken for you to sit in that seat.
You have earned this spot. You are worthy."
And she was overcome with emotion. And I'm wondering if you've had a chance to reflect on your own moment and what it means not only for you, but for the country.
I think any judge, any person in this role, if they think too much about the institution and the scope of the decision making and the impact of the decision making, it can become overwhelming. So I try to focus on the task at hand and not to be too much in the clouds. My background informs the way I look at the world and perhaps how I approach issues to some extent, but it isn't the determinative consideration, it's a consideration. My parents certainly taught me the value of hard work, so that aspect of the job is something that I've always embraced.
How did they react when they found out about the position?
They were obviously extremely happy and proud and delighted, and I think it was an affirmation of the sacrifices they'd made for myself and my siblings. So that was very, very touching.
People will look at you now, they look at the fact that you've had a prolific career, you are now at the pinnacle of it, highest court in the country. What has it taken to get to that point?
It's not me, it's my parents. They're the ones who sacrificed by moving twice, first from Kenya to the UK and then from the UK to Canada, being immigrants twice and starting all over again twice. I mean, that's a sacrifice. I feel very humbled and very grateful that they did what they did, because had I grown up in the UK, for example, I don't think I would have become a lawyer. I certainly wouldn't have become a judge, and there is zero chance I think I would have become a judge on the highest court in the land.
Explain that difference to me in culture.
Canada, when we arrived, was a much more open, tolerant, progressive country, and one where there was greater opportunity for young Canadians. So I think there was more opportunity for me here than there would have been had I grown up in the UK.
Were there examples where you didn't feel welcome?
I've pretty much always felt welcome here. I've always felt this is a country where everybody has a place. We have issues, of course, but I've certainly felt very welcome here.
When we come back,
it's a locker room.
I didn't even know that justices of the Supreme Court had a locker room.
Stay with us. A conversation with Supreme Court Justice Mahmud Jamal.
How long have you guys been clerking with Justice Jamal?
Since, I guess, August.
August. Okay. So a month after he got here.
Yes.
What's he like?
Okay.
You can't ask her that. you can't put that on. She's sitting right in front of me. What's she going to say?
You are, of course, a husband and a father of 2 boys. As in any household, there's, sibling rivalry from time to time. And I'm just wondering, as a father, how did you adjudicate those conflicts? Was it fairly and in a manner that was impartial?
I think you should ask our children that question, but I hope as respectfully and as sensitively as possible. But 2 young boys were a challenge at times, trying to navigate their differences. They're not the same. You think your children are going to be like you or like your wife, but of course they're all individuals and they grow up with their own personality.
You are 55 now. The mandatory retirement age is 75. 20 years from now, what do you hope your impact will be?
I don't think too much about the sweep of an impact in that sense. I try to do the best job I can in each individual case that's before me, and at a later point somebody else will be able to connect the dots. But for me, it's to really try and decide one case at a time. I hope people would say that I came to court with an open mind, and that I decided according to the law and according to the evidence, even if they disagree with the decision, that I did the best that I could, and and I think that's what any judge wants at the end of the day, because you're not going to please everybody. By definition, there's going to be one side that wins and another side that loses. So you try to have the respect and consideration of even the losing party when they read your decision.
You had told me earlier that you did not want this interview to be about you. But there are so many children and so many young law students who see in you the promise of possibility. And I'm wondering, what do you tell them? What is your message for them?
I tell them to work hard, to stay in school as long as they can, to not believe anybody that tells them something isn't possible, and to remember that this is a great country where anything is possible, and that if they work hard and stay in school and strive, that hopefully things will happen for them.
On July 1st, Justice Mahmud Jamal will mark 1 year at the Supreme Court. Canada Day, fitting for a man who has been lauded for his humility and hard work, quintessential Canadian qualities. I want to thank Justice Jamal for his time, the staff here at the court for making this interview possible, and to you, of course, for watching. I'm Omar Sachedina. Good night.
It's a locker room.
I didn't even know that justices of the Supreme Court had a locker room.
We do.
And your robes are kept in here then?
Yes, they.
Can we take a look?
Sure. They're passed from judge to judge, so mine goes back some way. So this was Justice Zabella's robe and Justice Iacobucci's and Justice Wilson.
Zabella's robes?
Yes, they were.
Wow.
They have to.
Tailored.
Obviously,
Okay.
hers wouldn't have fit me,
Yeah.
so, and it did not fit me. So it was Justice Martland's, then Justice Wilson's, then Justice Iacobucci, and then Justice Zabella.
Wow, now yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. I didn't realize. I thought they just got a new set every time.
No, they don't.
Wow.
We recycle.
What was that moment like the first time you put on your robes?
Very hot. They're heavy.
Yeah.
I think the first time you wear it, you realise, boy, this is hot. And there's a robe, and then there's a cape, and then there's a sash, and it's a bit of an exercise. And this isn't my usual weekend wear, so I don't know how to put it on.
Okay.
There's a bit of a method to putting it on, which I certainly haven't mastered.